another adventure here with Wichita Public Schools and the Sedgwick County Zoo. I'm Clint. Can't see Erin, but she's behind the camera and she'll be with us today. We're going to go meet the rhino keeper. We're going to hopefully get behind the scenes with the rhinos, and we're going to go see what it takes to care for a rhino, which is a lot. This is a huge animal we're talking about. So anyway, buckle up and let's go. All right, we have made it to the rhinos space here at the Sedgwick County Zoo. It has a large area to play. All right, we're getting our first look here at KJ. KJ just turned 4, and right now he's just taking a little nap. Hopefully he'll wake up for, oh, there he goes. He didn't like those birds. Here's Sweetie Pie. This is the rhino's neighbor right here. This is the hippo, and if you look real close, you can see her underwater. You don't want to mess with this, with Sweetie Pie.
Go for it.
So what's his name?
So this is KJ. He's which is short for Clyde Jr. He is named after his late dad, who was Clyde with a K. So that's where we got KJ from. He actually passed away right before we found out that he was in the oven. So we were still grieving losing dad. So he's Clyde Jr. KJ is an eastern black rhino, and they're a critically endangered species. There's 5 species of rhino, and then there's different subspecies within that. So he is a black rhino, and a subspecies is eastern black rhino. They're a critically endangered species. There is, a little over 6,000 of these guys in the wild. Hi, Bubba. Unfortunately, the biggest issue these guys face in the wild is that they are being poached for their horn. Unfortunately, a lot of people in the world believe that their horn has medicinal or magical properties. There's no scientific evidence to prove that it is in any way these things that are healing or anything like that. It is actually, their horns are made of keratin, which is the same substance as our hair and fingernails. So you could chew on your fingernails and get about as much efficacy as eating a rhino horn. I guess I shouldn't say eating. Yeah, you could chew on your fingernails and get the same effect as having a rhino horn.
So the horn thing is just, people think that it has this great medicinal.
Unfortunately, it's it's a international issue. That's his anticipatory behavior of, you're not feeding me fast enough, so I'm going to start throwing a tantrum.
That's a rhino tantrum?
This is a tantrum, yeah.
Sorry, bud.
Yeah, he's quite devastated that he's not getting fed.
He's 4 years old?
He's 4, yeah. Clyde. Oh.
Sorry, bud, I'll be quicker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and so we have a hard time. A lot of our job is a lot more psychology based than people realize. A lot of that comes with the training aspect of the job. We use a lot of operant conditioning, and obviously are always trying to have a goal of it being a positive, reinforcing time for these guys. So when they do something naughty like this, our main goal is to just either ignore the behavior unless it's something dangerous or something where we need to intervene. But I don't know why I'm giving you good material on the thing that I don't want in the thing. So a lot of our training for these guys is positive reinforcement. Obviously, the first thing that everybody thinks of with training is food, and fortunately that is what works for KJ. He's a very food motivated boy. He's a growing boy. Bananas are the key to most any rhino's heart. So when we're doing any training or new behaviors, or sometimes just for a special treat too, we use bananas for him.
He loves bananas?
He loves bananas, yeah. They're one of the higher sugar content items that he gets, so obviously it's his candy is our joke.
This is amazing. He's taking a little break.
He's actually really great.
You were telling me a little bit about their fight or flight.
Yes.
How does How does that work?
So these guys, and again, we can go inside. You just tell me. I just get caught up in my rhino spiel. So yeah,
For
just
sure.
let me know. When you think about animal survival instincts, these guys err more towards the fight side of fight or flight. They kind of combo it actually, and they rely a lot on their senses of hearing and smell, less so their eyesight, because they have very poor eyesight. They're very nearsighted, so they can see up close but not very far away. So a lot of times, especially on windy Kansas days like this, they will hear a noise and can't quite place what it is. And if you are built like a tank and have a spear on your head, the easiest way to solve any problem of something threatening you is to run it over and smash it. So these guys they don't tend to be very malicious. They do get a rep for being aggressive, and that's just because they are trying to defend themselves. And again, if you're built like that, your easiest way to solve any problem is just to run it over and figure out what it is later. Hi, my name's Kayla Jordan. I'm a zookeeper at Sedgwick County Zoo here in Wichita, Kansas. I've been a zookeeper for a little over 10 years now. The past about 6 years I've been here in primarily the Velt building. I work a lot with the rhinos, hippos, and giraffe. The rhinos are kind of my pet project, so I get to do a lot of training with these guys. KJ here is our eastern black rhino. He's our resident black rhino at this time. He's quite a mess. So I'm sure everyone knows the bulk of our job, at least most of the mornings, are typically a lot of cleaning. He's a very messy guy. Are you coming up? Hello. Not into the lettuce today? I think he's holding out for better snacks.
He wants that banana.
Yeah, he wants a banana. He knows I have one secret banana in here. Come here, Bubs. Come here. Come on. So yeah, a lot of our mornings are spent cleaning and kind of doing basic maintenance and diet prep for these guys. A lot of our job is also monitoring these guys for different health concerns, or especially growing animals like KJ, making sure they're going at a good growth rate, and a lot of that involves us doing a lot of training with them. Most of our training with the animals out here at the zoo is husbandry based, and that just means we do a lot to work with them to have them voluntarily participate in their own health care. So one of the most basic one that kind of applies to most animals out here is weighing them. We tend to try and weigh these animals once a month for the average, maybe more or less if we have different concerns for these guys. KJ's very good at getting on the scale. As you can see, his cooperation can be easily bought with a banana. Oh, hi.
What's some of the other things he loves to eat?
He is a garbage disposal of a rhino. He is not very picky. We joke he's our teenage boy when it comes to the animals here. The bulk of his diet is alfalfa hay. He gets about half a square bale of that a day. And we fluctuate that as he grows. He does get also a grain product that's developed by a company called Missouri. They produce a lot of different foods for us that we use out here at the zoo. So his is one that's formulated specifically for herbivores. It's actually one we use for the hippo as well. And then we do different supplements. He also gets 3 carrots, 3 apples, and 3 sweet potatoes every day. The bananas are an extra snack. He is also what we would consider a browser. That means you see this prehensile lip here. It's very useful for grabbing branches and trees and shrubbery. It's also really good at grabbing a bucket that I put too close or a wheelbarrow, and he'll tip those things over. So we always have to be careful and mindful of where we put stuff, not just because he's naughty and will help himself, but these guys also, I'm sure you saw earlier, will scent mark, and when they urinate, similar to a dog, they are marking their territory. So when his rear end comes towards you and his tail goes up, you have to always be ready to jump out of the way.
How many times he got you?
well, he did just a second ago, I'm embarrassed to say, but he, not a lot. You become pretty adept at jumping out of the way. There was a point in his life you could tell that when he was growing, the testosterone hit, and he was very interested in scent marking everything. So we always are really watchful too when like we just cleaned this space and brought him back into it. Sometimes I think he takes that personally, and he's like, I just got that room stinking like I wanted it to, so he will re-scent mark everything then. So there are sometimes you need to be a little more cautious with him. We've even had some rhinos in the past. With him, it's just if I need to scent mark something and you happen to be in my way, he's not worried about it. We've had rhinos in the past that would target and spray people to be ornery. So he doesn't quite have that malicious capacity. So at least when he does it, you know, it's just an honest mistake. I'm pretty biased, and I think KJ is the best, but we have a fun little fact about KJ is that he is very unique in that he has this third horn back here. Oh, hi, come here. This species of rhino would typically have 2 horns. It's a very rare genetic mutation that he has the third horn. It's not harmful to him in any way. It is truly a third horn. It is not as rooted as these other 2, so he has broken it off in his lifetime, and we do know from talking to other zoos that have individuals with this mutation that it grows back bigger each time, and we found that this is the 4th iteration of the third horn. Grab some snacks here. The other really cool fact about KJ right now that we just recently got the data on is that a lot of the animals out here at the zoo are involved in SSPs, and that's an acronym for a species survival plan. So zoos work together with these species survival plans, and and this is what kind of guides our breeding program. So they will look at the genetic data for these guys. So there's an Eastern Black Rhino SSP, and so they look at the biostats of these guys and who's related to who and who should breed with who and who should go where to do that, with the goal being that we have a very healthy genetic population of these endangered species in the zoo. So we just found out this past year that KJ is the #1 ranked male in the SSP. So while that, for us, that's really exciting. He is a little too young to breed yet, but once he reaches sexual maturity, he will be a priority to have him breed. And that number, him being #1, just means that there's less of his lineage, less of his relatives in the gene pool. So we'd like to see more of his line represented. So it'll be a priority to hopefully have him breed and produce offspring.
Do they normally live alone?
Yes, this species, this is a solitary species of rhino, the black rhinos are. Another common species that you see in zoos are this is him presenting behavior right now because he's begging for snacks. So he's like, if I do the things you asked me to do, will you give me more snacks? So it's a polite way to beg. We don't mind that. You're fine. So, but yes, this is a solitary species. So it's pretty typical for a 4-year-old male to be on their own at this point in their life. They would kind of be roaming around trying to find their own territory. Good boy, good boy. Again, he's a little too young to be having breeding interest, but at this point in life, he would be kind of off on his own, trying to find his own territory, probably looking for females, but not being a desirable partner to those guys, or to those females. So he has a little bit of, he has a little bit of growing up to do. Our running joke is that he is kind of a cross between a toddler and a preteen. He's got all the awkward gangliness of those 2 age groups, but he's still very playful and very endearing. He's always been a very people-oriented animal, but he gets zoomies just like, you know, your dogs at home do. He's very goofy.
He gets zoomies and starts running all over?
He runs all over, yeah. He will kind of jump. You wouldn't think an animal that weighs over a ton could jump into the air, but he'll actually jump, and it looks like an attempt at like a skip. when he gets going really fast, he'll do that. These guys are also really good wallowers. They spend a lot of time wallowing in the mud. That is one of the best ways for us to, we always try to provide a space for him to do that. It's one of the best ways to maintain their skin. It's kind of like a lotion for him. It's also like a sunscreen. It protects him from the sun, and my favorite part about it all is it keeps the flies from trying to get to him in the summertime. So he is a really good wallower, so he does a good job of maintaining his skin that way. For him, he thinks it's a time to play, so it works for everybody.
So what does training look like for an animal like this?
As much as I love rhinos and don't want to speak ill of them, they're not known for their brain. So we try to keep training very simple for these guys. I'm sure most anybody who's familiar with training, the easiest way to reinforce a reward is with food. KJ finds these payments very acceptable. So a lot of our training, we will be using choice items like his grain or bananas, and the goal is to reward behaviors that we would like to see. And if he's exhibiting some kind of behavior we'd rather not to see, we ignore it or just make sure we're not reinforcing it in any way. So again, we're trying to always make sure that it's a positive experience, and they want to keep coming back to a training session. So a lot of times training is either desensitizing them, especially with an animal like a rhino who gets startled and spooked by things. We want to desensitize them to whether it's different medical equipment or sounds or noises. We want to show him that what he thinks is scary, he doesn't need to be worried about, and we try and pair that with positive experiences like food or enrichment or smells or anything that they would like. Again, he's easy, he's very food motivated, he wants snacks, he's willing to work for some snacks. The other thing that we always try and stress and tell everybody is that if he chooses not to train, or any animal out here, if they choose not to train, that is their choice. They do have that freedom. They are wild animals. They will not lose out on their main diet. Usually training, we're working with special or extra treats, so that way if they choose not to train, they're not being punished in any way, they just aren't getting the extra rewards.
What kind of like enrichment activities does he have?
He really loves, we were talking about browsing. He is a big time browser, so he loves, chewing on sticks and different limbs. So we actually partner with there's some tree companies in town that will bring, we have a list of approved species of tree that we can feed out to the animals, so they actually deliver them to our elephant department, and we're able to go borrow from them and steal for these guys, and the giraffe are also really grateful for those items. So we bring those and we're able to hang them up, like we have the zip line set up in this room here, so we can replicate ways for him to reach and grab and strip and work for those fun treats that are close to what they would be experiencing in the wild.
And how much bigger is he gonna get?
We think he's about 2,300-ish pounds right now. We think he will be closer to about 3,000 pounds when he's full grown. I think he'll probably get a little bit taller as well and then fill out quite a bit, but he's right on track for his age group, so we're pretty happy with his body condition. That's another big part of our job, is making sure that we're feeding them the right things so they're getting all the vitamins and nutrients they need, and that we want to make sure they're in a healthy condition. So as much as it's fun to feed them treats and snacks all day, we don't want to overfeed them.
All right, so how did you get into this, and how did you get to become the keeper of the rhino?
The honest answer is I was in college and I thought I wanted to be a human resource. That was the kind of career path that I had thought I wanted, because I watch The Office all the time and Toby's my favorite character, but I just really was struggling with economics and I was struggling with economics and calculus, and so I just kind of hit a point where I was like, this is not probably what I want to do with my life, and I kind of went back to my childhood dream of working with animals, and so I was able to find the Friends University program that was has an emphasis in zoo science, and I was fortunate enough that I've grown up in Wichita and this program was available in my hometown, and everything else was kind of serendipitous. After that, I accepted my first job out at the zoo was in the horticulture department, which I had a blast. It was a short time, but I worked part-time there, and we focused, obviously upkeeping the plant side of the zoo, and with that I was able to learn more about how the zoo works, and I was able to learn a lot about tool use and machinery that we use out here at the zoo, which has been incredibly valuable. And as a hoofstock keeper now, I use a lot of that plant knowledge to be able to provide these guys extra treats and enrichment. And then so from there I worked about not quite 4 years in the ape department, so I spent a lot of times with the chimpanzees and the orangutans. And then I just always kind of had a soft spot in my heart for the hoofstock. I like the underrated guys, so I accepted a position in the vet and have been with rhinos ever since then.
Is there a team of people that work together to care for these animals?
Yes, my department includes 8 different individuals, counting myself and my supervisor. So we all work together, and we do, on a daily basis, we work a routine. So the routine I usually work is what we call the vet building. So that includes hippo, rhino, and giraffe, but we're also cross-trained to be able to cover what we call our cat routines, and that includes the tiger, leopard, and red pandas. Sometimes we call our area vet mammals, which indicates African species, but because we're close to the Asian cats, that our department, it just is a geographic convenience for us. So we're able to cross-train and fill in for each other when if somebody's on vacation or holiday. We can fill in and make sure all the animals are getting the care they need.
So what is the most challenging part of working with this animal?
Obviously losing animals is the hardest thing. We build great attachments to them. Most of the time they're also attached to us in a way, but losing the animals is the hardest part of the job. I think that goes without saying with this career choice, but another issue is working every day, whether, when there's a snowstorm, we don't get to work remotely. I've asked, they won't let me take KJ home so I could work from home, but you don't get holidays off necessarily. You're always working weekends, so that is something you need to weigh when you're thinking about getting into a career like this. You don't always have the availability that you'd like.
That brought up a great question. How long do they live, or estimate?
These guys, this species of rhino, typically most rhinos live to be in their early 30s would be a good lifespan for these guys. Obviously they live a little bit longer in captivity, and that's just because we have 3 full-time vets on staff here. So if I ever have a concern about them, I get one text and I can get veterinary care for these guys. So we don't have to, the biggest concern for rhinos in the wild is habitat loss and poaching. So obviously that's not a concern here. So we see a little bit longer lifespan with them in captivity.
So what season of the year is the hardest? Is it during the winter?
We are constantly debating this, my coworkers and I. It's pretty strongly divided between the heat of summer and the cold of winter. The cold of winter, if you're smart enough to work with animals that are native to warmer environments, you get to work in heated buildings, but that means you're like my days in the winter, you bundle up to come into work and clean off your car and to get in here and to take care of our buildings, but back up, hi. But then you come in the building and you sweat while you're working and doing all the manual labor part of the job, and then you need to bundle back up to go back outside. So that part is a little redundant, but that's, in my opinion, a better option than the keepers that take care of animals that are native to colder habitats, and they're bundled up all day and they're dealing with locks that are frozen and trying to maintain facilities that are literally freezing. So I like the benefit of working with animals that I don't have to wear coveralls to get to their care.
What kind of noises does he make?
They don't have a lot of vocalizations, which if you think about their social structure, they're solitary, so it makes sense that they don't have a lot. KJ is kind of unique in that he is still using a vocalization that is typically only utilized by calves. It's a really high-pitched squeak. If that vocalization is used properly, it would be a calf calling to mom when they were scared or startled or needing some kind of comfort for mom. So, hey mom, where are you? I'm nervous, come take care of me. Where, just a contact call to mom. KJ's learned that humans find this incredibly endearing and cute. So even though he's far too old to be using that call, he will squeak to us when he thinks he needs some more attention or treats. He's using it not technically properly, but it gets the job done for him.
He seems like he loves the attention.
Yeah, attention and food are his currencies for sure. The more prevalent vocalizations that most people would encounter with rhinos is they do a lot of snorting and grunting, and there's also like a terrifying low-pitched growl. The times that you would hear those are typically when rhinos are in a breeding situation. When a male and female come together and the female's in estrus, they will typically fight for about 3 days. And essentially what's happening is the male needs to prove that he is worthy of breeding with. So they will fight and spar sometimes for days at a time. And once the female decides that this is an animal whose genetics that she would want to pass on, obviously this is all very instinctually based, then the female will be more submissive. But the whole time they're fighting, they have snot pouring from their nose, they're snorting and grunting. It really is horrifying. But if you're familiar with the Jurassic Park movies, the originals, a lot of the vocalizations in those movies are blended with the dinosaur vocalizations are partially rhino vocalizations. So you probably know what they sound like if you've seen those movies. That's a good boy. Come here. You do open.
So for our students that are super interested in getting involved at the zoo, volunteering or just seeing if this is a career path they want to take, what would you tell them?
I would say experience is everything. So whether it's volunteering or coming out to our junior zookeeper programs out here through our education department, getting out here and experiencing the job, there's just so much about this career path that you can't learn from a textbook. So as much as we love to read and learn as much as possible, getting that hands-on experience is great. And it doesn't have to be a zoo, whether it's working on a farm or a humane society or shelter. Learning animal behavior is very important, and a lot of that translates. KJ and I today, I hope I was able to answer some questions that anyone might have about a job in an animal care field. Thanks.
Thank you all so much for being with us today.
KJ's grateful for the excuse to have some extra snacks.
Bye, KJ. Well, thank you for joining us on this adventure today. Huge thanks to Sedgwick County Zoo for partnering up on different projects like this. It was really cool to meet the rhinos and see what it's like in the back, and just to see all the work it takes for a keeper to clean up after these animals and make sure that they are healthy and having a great time. So hope you had fun. We'll see you at an adventure in the future. Bye.